Each week on the Flowerlounge Podcast, I interview an entrepreneur, a creative, or thought leader in wellness or natural medicine. In this episode, I am interviewed by Singapore reporter Bianca Husodo about flower alchemy, flower collecting, meditation, botanical treatments, and our future plans for Asia. Welcome to the Flower Lounge, a place for conversations with wildly creative people and a little plant-loving wisdom to help you experience life in full bloom. I'm Katie Hess, flower alchemist and founder of LOTUSWEI, and I believe in a world where we're all living at our personal edge.
So I'm going to ask you, what is a flower alchemist? What does your role entail?
So typically an alchemist in the past would be someone who takes, for example, metal and turns it into gold. Mm-hmm. So a flower alchemist is someone who helps us all look at the material we have inside and take the scrap metal and turn it into gold with the help of flowers. So it's kind of like the lotus, how the lotus grows in the mud and it's swampy and stinky and muddy, but the lotus is pristine and pure and clean and can full bloom. So it's taking all of life's craziness and chaos and with that little help from Mother Nature being able for us to bloom into our full potential.
Wow. That's partly why you named the brand LOTUSWEI.
Yeah. The way part, after several sayings in Chinese, that would lend itself towards transformative action, like something's happening, and for the benefit of all.
Okay. Having said that, what about flower alchemy? What does this practice mean?
I mean, we work with flowers on so many levels, as you can see, being in this space in the yoga school, just taking some flower petals and botanicals completely transform the space. Yeah. So that's one way, is to just reflect beauty back to our eyes and awaken an appreciation of life. And then on, all the way down to a more tangible, practical level, which is making flower elixirs. I travel around the world looking for special flowers. Every flower on the planet has a really specific quality and something that it wakes up inside of us. Some flowers make us sleep, some make us laugh, some heal old wounds, some heal the heart, and so on and so forth. It's like any possible problem you could ever dream up, there's a flower for it. And so we collect those flowers using a solar infusion process, which is a fancy name for something really simple and down to earth. And what we're essentially doing is collecting the life force from the plant, which is stored in the flower. And so we're looking to bring nature back into people's everyday lives, even if you're sitting in an office all day long, even if you are not getting enough time in nature. It's bringing nature back in by helping you either taking the flower essences internally or putting them on your skin or just having them in your environment to help you feel like you're in nature.
Okay. You mentioned something that's super interesting. The life force of the flower. What is it made of? Which part of the flower is it?
So when you take a walk in the jungle or the woods, say for a few hours, you walk out and you're like, wow, super refreshed, not thinking too much anymore. Stress is gone. You feel so calm. But it's more than just the oxygen, right? There's something that the plants are doing for us energetically. It's like sweeping away all of our distraction and static, bringing us back into tune. And so the life force part of it is quite literally like chi energy. So similar to the way an acupuncturist can fine-tune the chi in your body through the meridian points, we can take the chi from plants and flowers and introduce it into our meridian system to affect our own life force. What is it? Nuts and bolts? It's like soaking a fresh flower right at its full bloom point as it's in the ground and it's full moon and everything is flourishing.
Yeah.
And water acts like a recording device.
I'm sorry?
Water
Water?
records information. So scientifically it's been shown that water is similar to like the shiny rainbow stuff we would see on like CDs or DVDs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it holds the life force in the water as a container. Alcohol is a natural preservative, so it keeps it intact. And then you can use that for many, many years. The way that it was taken before was having people drink the dewdrops from flowers.
Mm-hmm.
So doctors or yogis or meditation masters of the past would tell their students or patients to go into nature, look for this specific flower, this color, growing here, and every morning go there and drink the dew from the top. But since we don't live in a world like that anymore...
Yeah, we don't. It's very unfortunate. So this is sort of like, taking a few steps back and, I don't know, like being one again in nature, like introducing ourselves back with nature.
Yeah, it's literally like if you're putting drops of a flower elixir in your mouth 5 times a day, or putting it in your tea or your drinks, or you're misting it on, or you're anointing it on your skin.
Yeah.
It's creating an energetic landscape in your system that is equivalent if you had been, say, walking in nature all day.
Mm-hmm.
Clearing out all the static, opening up all the channels, helping you be at your best. And when you're balanced, you are joyful, you are loving, you are patient, all the good qualities that we have. Mm-hmm. So that's one aspect of it, is helping us feel more balanced. Mm-hmm. Another aspect is a little more activating, such as flower elixirs help us see our full potential. So there are parts of us that are not fully realized yet. Mm-hmm. It's like if you're in a group of people and you ask them, okay, raise your hand if anyone in the room has maxed out their capacity. Like, you're as successful, you're as accomplished, you're as bold, courageous, stunningly beautiful, energetic that you could ever get. Like, you've maxed out. No one will ever raise their hand, right? Because we innately know that we're capable of so much more. We know that somehow. And so flower essences have this really gentle way of sort of like opening up those boxes inside of us, creating space so our own innate wisdom can arise, so we can begin to get a sense of how great essentially we are, versus get into like a tiny little box where we just have our monkey minds going crazy and we can't see outside of it. It's like the same feeling when you are on top of a mountain or you're looking at the ocean. You see something so beautiful and you feel so small.
Yes.
But in the moment that you feel small, you also become one with the whole scene. So then you feel like vast, and you feel like your heart is as big as the sky and as big as the
free.
Free, totally free.
Yeah.
And so it's about using flowers and nature to remind us of our vast greatness.
Okay, that's very well said. Anyway, why flowers though? Like, out of everything in nature, what's special about flowers?
Because they're the reproductive organ of the plant, they have the most chi, the most life force. Okay. So it's like a good starting point to collect from. And then they're beautiful, and they make people happy, and they have so much color, and people fall in love with flowers.
Yeah.
You see them in every culture. You see them at birth, death, sickness, celebrations. So we kind of already know that they're good for transitions and turning points. They're also a good reminder of impermanence, that we come, we bloom, we die. So there is this natural cycle of life. And I think on some level they remind us of that, of like how precious everything is.
You've had 17 years of research before you started doing this, is that right? Or is it ongoing still?
Ongoing, yeah.
Definitely.
So I've been working for almost 20 years with flower essences. The first 10 were primarily working one-on-one with people. So imagine we were in a consultation situation. You would tell me, just like dump everything in my lap. What's working, what's not working, frustrations, where you want to go, what your dreams are, what you want your best life to look like. And then I would put together like a customized bottle of flower essences. I did that for 10 years. That was part of the research. At some point in there, I started collecting my own flowers instead of using my teacher's flower elixirs. So then I started traveling around collecting flower essences. We have maybe 200 or so in our library now. And then after the first 10 years, I saw so many transformative results in the people I was working with that
That's great.
I couldn't have a conscience and keep quiet about it. Like faces, bodies, lives, everything changing. So then the question was, how do I reach more people? And that's the only reason why we have, products essentially, so we can reach more people. And that started a whole other, new decade of learning how to be an entrepreneur, how to grow a company, how to market flowers to the world. And now our team is 12 people. Mm-hmm. We started doing Flowerlounge events like this evening all over the world. We've done, I think this will be our 20th. And that culminated in us buying 5,000 square meter building in Phoenix, Arizona last fall. Wow. So we opened up a Selfrising nature center where we combine both botanical treatments and flower elixirs and traditional Chinese medicine and other therapies with events and a store and a place where people can come to, again, figure out what is the key to blooming into their full potential. We have a podcast with listeners in over 75 countries, and so we're really just looking to expand the ways to reach people.
What first got you into this, though? What sparked your interest to flowers?
I mean, I always loved flowers when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. I don't think I ever thought I could make a career with it. I graduated college, was trying to figure out what to do next. Mm-hmm. I studied as many natural healing remedies that I could find. Found a teacher from Spain who was an expert in flower essences. I was most impressed with this idea that we could use them our whole lives and continue to evolve. The idea that they would accelerate our personal growth was very exciting to me. It felt like a little bit of a shortcut, or like a catalyst, or a speed up and remove obstacles. Mm-hmm. And then at the time, my flower essence teacher said, if 3% of the world's population were working with flower elixirs, energetically it would create enough of a tipping point that it would create a very positive result in the future. And so that was really inspiring to me.
How do you work with sourcing your flowers?
So there's two components of the business. One is the flower elixirs, which we specialize in. Mm-hmm. The other is the essential oils or the aromatherapy. So what we're really good at is the part that doesn't have a scent. We go out to anywhere from Iceland, Costa Rica, Singapore, United States, Canada. Must be growing in the wild with minimal interference from people and civilization at its full bloom, typically around moon or full moon.
Okay.
Doesn't have to be though. And then, we take care so that the flowers are not anywhere near pesticides or chemicals.
Does that mean you guys pluck it one by hand?
So the interesting thing about this type of natural medicine is that you only need 1 to 5 flowers to make enough remedy to last for many years. So you can either cut it, or you can bend it over. If it has like a bendy stem, you can bend it over into the bowl of water and then put it back. So sometimes with endangered flowers or really rare flowers, we'll just blend it into the water and then put it back.
Okay. And the flower deck, let's talk about the flower deck.
Yeah.
So what does it help with, and how does it work?
So we have 54 bright colored cards with flower photos on them. Mm-hmm. What we've come to know over the last 20 years is that you'll always be visually attracted to the flowers that benefit you most in the moment. So if we lay out all the cards and I say, okay, Bianca, choose the 3 you're most attracted to, you'll get shocked, because when you see what they're for, it will strike a chord inside of you, oh my God, how do you know, right? But it's just simply that you're attracted to what you need.
Okay.
So you can use it in two different ways. One is how to figure out which flower elixir to take. And you're like, so many different flowers in the world, where do I start?
Yeah.
Okay, this one, I'll start with this one. And also as a reflectionary tool to help you see what's happening inside, because sometimes we go, we don't even really know what's happening inside. How do I feel? What is happening? What am I learning right now? And then the second way to use it is just as like a fun oracle deck, like pick a card for the day, or draw out a whole sort of 12-card narrative of what, health, wealth, relationships, that type of thing will look like for the year.
Okay, so does that mean like one's predilection for certain flowers will change here and there?
Say that again.
When you choose a flower, sometimes what you're attracted to will change. Like, it doesn't necessarily be just one flower.
No, not static. Yeah. Okay. So let's say you chose rose, and you were just like, oh, I'm so crazy about rose, I could drink rose. And then you started taking rose elixir, just nonstop. Maybe after 2 weeks, once your body had solidified that into your system, maybe you look at it and it's like, that looks very common and plain. But what looks really interesting is this other jade flower over here. So it will change as we change.
Okay, cool. Do you have like a garden of your own in Phoenix?
That's a great question. So where I live in my home, there's a lot of really tall bamboo and night blooming jasmine, which is my favorite. We don't have like a special garden per se because it's so dry in the desert that the ground becomes like so hard and cement-like, and it gets very hot in the summer. But we do have tons of bamboo, and it kind of looks like our house looks like a jungle because it's so green and leafy. It's different from the other houses in the area. And in the summer, the jasmine blooms in the nighttime, so we can pull the flowers in the morning. That's my favorite part.
Oh, that's awesome. You mentioned earlier that you guys have 200 flowers and over 200 flowers in the library. There's a library for it?
So I call it a library. It's a place where we store all of our what are called mother essences. So that will be what we've gone out into the wild and collected and brought back. And then from those mother essences, we do dilution. So it's a little bit similar to homeopathy to create the rest of the products that you see. And then we do also work with essential oils and aromatherapy, and that we source from distillers all over the world, and then mix the two together for like the mists and the anointing oils and the other things that you'll see tonight.
Okay. At the moment, how many products do you have?
Types.
There's elixir oil.
Flower elixirs, which you take internally. It's yummy. It tastes like honey nectar. There are aura mists, which you mist around you. They smell really amazing, and they clear your aura. There are anointing oils, which are like a stronger kind of natural perfume oil that you can add to pulse points or acupressure points. There's a serum, which is sort of more of like a body oil.
Okay.
Bath salts that you can toss into the bath.
Wow.
I should mention too that every product comes with a meditation link, so you can put it into your phone, click on the link, press play, and then maybe you're sitting in a hot bath or putting on your anointing oil, and then you can sit for 5 minutes with a meditation specific to the intention of that blend. We have 12 different blends, which are combinations of flower elixirs that have really specific targeted results, like joy juice, infinite love, boundless wisdom, fierce compassion. The names are indicative of what you would experience.
Okay.
And then we also have single flower elixirs when people have been taking them for a long period of time and they want to take it deeper. The single flowers are more subtle, but they go deeper. So we also have a program called Flower Evolution, which is a monthly subscription program where we send people out like wild, weird, special, powerful flower elixirs that we've recently collected that are just going to serve like a smaller group of people.
Okay. By going deeper, what do you really mean? Like, does that mean the flower has more effect on that person?
That's a great question. So if you take a person, like let's say someone walks into the room and they're like, I've never tried flower essences before. I don't even know what to expect. Okay, so then we find what they need. We give them the flower elixir. They go home. They take it for 1 month, putting drops in their mouth. And what they'll notice is they feel more relaxed, less irritation. Living in a big city, you get kind of overwhelmed. So they experience less overwhelm, more peace. They hear the birds singing. They just overall feel more balanced. If this person comes back and they figure out what do they need next, they start taking flower essences regularly over 2, 3, 4 months, what will happen is that they go beyond the phase of short-term benefits. And then to answer your question by going deeper, what it means is you've become more stable, and so then the flower essences will start to show you things about yourself, like patterns. We all have certain patterns that we've learned from growing up or from our parents or grandparents. And some thought patterns are wonderful and some are limiting and hold us back. So the flowers will then very slowly and gently begin to show us what are those patterns that if we change them would liberate us in life. So for example, I used to think, oh, I'm such a peaceful person, I'm so peaceful. And then I took a flower essence and I realized, oh my God, I'm actually really impatient. I'm so impatient sometimes. And I had no idea. I hadn't seen it about myself before. So it's almost like peeling the layers off of an onion. Mm-hmm. The flowers help you see things about yourself that you didn't see before.
Okay, so when does this moment of realization come to you?
It's like a flash. It's like when you're going home from work at the end of the day and you're like, I was gonna pick up some durian for my family, right? It's such like a flash. Or you're standing there cooking. I remember when I first started, we have a blend called Boundless Wisdom, and I just took that for many weeks because I wanted to see what's gonna happen to me. I was cooking in a wok in the kitchen, cooking, and suddenly I was like, oh my God, that's why I'm like that, because when I was 2 years old, that happened, and then that happened, and then that, and now I'm like, oh my God, right? It's like this huge life realization, just standing over the dinner making food in a wok. So it's like an aha. It's just like, wow, I get it now, like that.
Okay. How do you know that it's because of the flower?
In the beginning, you doubt it.
Yeah.
When you first start to feel the effects, you're like, because it's so natural, right? It's not anything other than you. It's not like the flower is doing it, the plant is making you say these crazy things. You know, it's you. So because it's so natural, you're like, is that it? I don't know. Is that it? I don't know. Is that it? But for example, if you find yourself speaking up in a situation normally you wouldn't speak up, and then your whole body is like, oh my God, I can't believe I just said that. But everything's fine. You notice, like, I wouldn't have done that before. Or let's say you have a brother who drives you crazy and he's so irritating every time you're around him. And then you come around your brother and you don't feel irritated at all. It's like, oh, something's happening. Something's different. I feel natural.
Okay.
But normally I would respond like, so irritated. But now I feel calm.
Right.
So like that.
Okay. Does this take time? Like, do you have to like keep using it in regular periods, or?
It totally depends on you. It's like,
okay.
It's like if people will say, how long do I have to eat healthy to feel good? Or how many times should I go in nature? Or, it's like, if you want to feel better, you would want to do it more times.
Yeah, fair enough. True.
I mean, and then there are times we get lazy, we forget. I forget to take it, and then suddenly life becomes more edgy and hard,
and you realize that there's something missing.
Dang, that stuff does work. Yeah.
Okay, so what's your day-to-day like? Do you travel a lot, obviously?
At home, my day-to-day? Or
your day-to-day, like, what's your daily life like? What's a day in Katie Hess's life like?
Well, when I'm at home in Phoenix, you can find me at the Sun Center and working with the team. And I often work on the computer a lot. You would think, oh, she's always out in the flower fields. And actually, I'm more running the business. But luckily, we get opportunities like this. We've been in Taiwan and Singapore for 2 months now. So some days are collecting flowers in the hot springs in Taiwan, and then other days are spending time writing emails and
there's always a balance to it. Yeah.
Right.
What would you say is your current favorite bloom, perhaps? Is there anything that you gravitate towards at the moment? And why?
The one that jumps into my mind is peony.
Okay.
It's like, it reminds me when I was a kid and when you're small and you just bury your face into a big peony flower. It's so luscious, and the lessons of the peony flower, the quality, is all about abundance. And not just like money or fortune, but really experiencing the richness of life in the present moment. And just the idea that there are endless possibilities and opportunities, and things can happen overnight. I really like that flower and that concept and that quality right now.
Okay. I mean, that's the thing, I think, with your process as well, is that flowers trigger a certain memory somehow. And I don't know, maybe for me or most of the people who grew up here in Singapore is called the Garden City, but then you don't really see much of flowers, or sure, there are many trees by the roadside, and then there's gardens by the bay, but then we don't really get to see much of nature anymore. So I don't know, like, have you ever seen like any difference between people who live in the city and those who do not live in the city?
Oh, definitely.
Like, you know, how they choose the flowers.
Yeah, I mean, people who live in big mega cities will typically choose flowers that show that they're under high levels of stress over time, and some have issues sleeping, like can't sleep at night. Those would be the two biggest things. I would say, though, coming from Phoenix in the desert, Singapore is so lush. I mean, I know that most Singaporeans feel like, oh, I have to go to Thailand or Bali so I can feel like I'm in nature. But coming from a dry place, I delight in seeing so many of the jungle flowers here. And, like, for example, you have shell ginger, which is grown in so many places in the city. Do you know what that one is? It looks like a little cascade of like seashells.
I think I know what you mean.
But then when they open, it's like fire on the inside.
Yep. Okay, that's what they're called. Okay.
Yeah. So most of you would recognize the shell ginger, but its quality is for thinking outside of the box, being really innovative and visioning, which is what Singaporeans are really good at. One of the things. Another tree that grows super well here is the Bodhi tree. It has leaves that look like a heart, and its quality is unconditional love. And I mean, as compared to other cities, I find people here very kind and caring. Different from other cities where people are much more irritable. So I see the relationship of what's available plant-wise sort of like coming through the people who live here, if that makes sense. We walk down the street and the plants are like background. But if we could see what's actually, like if we could see how bees see, that everything has a aura or a life force, we would become more aware of how the plants are affecting us.
Do you think we have that innate sense within us? It's just that
100%.
We're not in tune with it just yet.
You absolutely, everyone is in tune. Everyone is 100% in tune. It's just sometimes we don't put our focus there. So if you look at, let's say, whether it's the flower cards in the flower deck, or we go to a flower shop and then it's like, pick the one that you love the most. That is inevitably the medicine that you can benefit the most from. So you 100% know, you're 100% in tune, but your mental mind doesn't always know that, and you might not think, oh, what plant should I look for to help me? You may not think that. Mm-hmm. But then again, maybe one day you're like, oh, I'm so stressed, I'm just gonna sit under this tree. And that's where your innate wisdom is, like, guiding you. Everyone is always has that capacity. It's just whether or not we're listening to it, right?
Right. Okay. So what do you think we can do to listen more?
Spend more time in nature. And when I say that, it could be sitting under a tree in the HDB block. It could be going to the park and taking off your shoes and walking on the reflexology path. It could be taking a break, coming down from the office, and sitting next to some flower bushes and just looking at them. Another thing would be to take flower elixirs. They do help a lot. Mm-hmm. And meditation is also very, very, very helpful. Like simple awareness meditations can also bring us back into tune.
How often do you meditate yourself?
Daily.
Daily. Okay. Do you put yourself like a certain, I don't know, time as to how much you should meditate in a day? Do you?
I would say minimum 5 minutes.
Oh, okay.
When I first started practicing daily meditation almost 20 years ago, there were times when I had 2 hours that I could do practice, and wow, did that ever make a difference. Now, with a growing, expanding business, a team to look after, traveling, I don't have that luxury of time. But one thing I do know from experience is that 5 minutes is very powerful if done every day. I wake up at 4:15. I have been waking up at 4:15 in the morning and doing 5 minutes of meditation practice. Most oftentimes I go back to sleep. And then when I wake up later, I may do another meditation practice. That being said, if all people have is just 5 minutes, it's enough, if done regularly, to be completely life-changing.
Wow, okay. I feel like I really need that. I'm like all jittery in the morning, especially in the morning actually. But then I just dash off to work and, continue being jittery throughout the day. I'm still a little bit jittery now. I'm not sure if you can tell. But yeah.
Morning is a great time to do sitting practice because the 5 minutes turns into the whole day. Meaning, sort of like you kind of spin the wheel.
Right.
So that in those 5 minutes, all of your jitters just sort of exhaust themselves, and then the rest of your day you feel calm. So it's a great time. We recently made a meditation program in Taiwan, where we had different instruction each day, super simple instruction, and then we did an audio recording, night markets, rainforest insects, where people would listen. You listen for 5 minutes and do this particular practice from the instruction. The point of this was to show people that you could even do your practice in a market, walking on your way to work. It's good to have 5 minutes of sitting, something more formal, but you can also do it when you're washing the dishes,
right,
or when you're in other activities, if you need to be on the go.
Okay. Now I'm just reminded of one of the elixirs that you have. It's a rare cactus one. Can you tell me more about it? Why is this rare cactus helpful? Yes.
Yeah, it's a cactus that grows where I live in Arizona. And I found it at a time when I was just transitioning from seeing one-on-one clients and then, asking myself how would I reach the rest of the world that needed it. I was at a little bit of a crisis point because I couldn't find, I went to a trade show and nobody really wanted what I had. And all of the places where I saw these types of things being sold, it was like closed doors. So I was like, how am I gonna reach the world if, And so I really just like, okay, Mother Nature, you're gonna have to show me which is the way to go here. And then I started doing some work for a resort and spa, a big resort. And the day that they officially hired me to make a bunch of like products for them, I walked out to the car and saw this cactus with a bud. And I got really excited because I hadn't seen it before, but I just could like feel in my bones that it would bloom at night. So I snuck back onto their property at 10:30 at night. There's this huge white flower in the full moon. And the reason why it's so special is that it only blooms one night a year.
One night a year?
One night. Always in the month of May, either on full moon or new moon. And that particular cactus just had one giant, enormous flower that looks like white feathers, and then that's it for the rest of the year.
Right. What do you do to it? You bend it as well, and then...
That one, I couldn't bend it because the cactus is so stiff, so I had to cut it. And then I brought it home in a bowl of water and let it infuse in the full moonlight overnight. Then I made an essence out of it and then infused it into all of the products that would be used in the resort. The crazy thing is, so the quality of that flower is that it helps remove any fears or limitations that would hold us back from taking a big leap. Like not just baby steps, but big. And then that flower totally overnight changed my business and life, essentially, because I transitioned from seeing people one-on-one in quiet office settings to making hundreds of different types of products. And then a couple months after that was when Obama got into office, and so they called me in to make a bunch of things for the president. So it was that kind of big job.
So Obama got this elixir, this cactus.
He was like on his way from the airport, and they called me in and was like mixing things and getting them ready before he arrived. So yeah, that was a big jump for us.
Wow, that's a huge thing. You do other practices as well, like smoke offering, flower,
botanical treatments.
Yes, exactly. Like, can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, so the botanical treatment is like a multi-sensory experience. I feel like it's almost more relaxing than a massage, where two practitioners work on one person, front and back, using botanicals, aromatics, flowers, or like fresh flowers. Hard to describe. It's like stimulating your body's natural circulation as well as cleansing. And then we also use some other like traditional Chinese medicine tools. Smudging, burning special herbs, and using all the flower elixirs and misting you, and you just have to experience. You will. And I will, right?
What are the benefits, I guess? What are the benefits of this treatment?
It's an hour where you are like 100% present. You cannot be anywhere else. You're not thinking about, I forgot to go to the store or what I'm doing tomorrow, because you're like, what's that sound? What's that feeling on my face? Oh, that smell. Oh, it's like you're barraged. Your senses are just like barraged, and it's like this otherworldly, you're just taking it all in as fast as you can. And there is magic to being 100% in the present moment. It's super revitalizing and blissful and joyful. And then to have two women like so gently and lovingly taking care of you and making you feel like you're a garden is very sweet.
Yeah, I can't wait to experience it myself. I hope you don't mind me asking, but I'm not sure how to like identify this as, what would you say flower alchemy is? Is it something spiritual? Is it a spiritual practice? Is it...
I would call it natural medicine.
Okay.
But that being said, many people use it for spiritual purposes. It's hard not to feel a sense of deep spiritual appreciation when you're in Mother Nature. And so, yeah, I mean, it can be used for physical body. We have one remedy called it's actually a flower called Self-Heal that activates your body's natural healing capability. So for physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, whichever door you want to open.
Okay. One last question. You've been grappling with this, not exactly grappling, but you've been in this, doing this for 20 years now, like you said. What would you say is the most profound lesson you've learned about flowers, about yourself, perhaps?
The first thing that comes to mind is the depth of support and communication that we have access to at our fingertips with the earth that we live on. It tends to be something that we don't see it. It's like in the background. It's under the soles of our feet. But the different experiences I've had collecting flowers where, miraculously we find some rare endangered orchid, and at the same moment the sky thunders even though there's only one tiny cloud, and the rain showers for 5 minutes and the moon rises red. Like, it's hard to describe, but in that moment it's like there is no doubt that the earth hears. It's like it hears your requests, it responds, it produces medicine for us when we need it. So long story short, I think many of us, we feel lonely, we feel like maybe we're not making a big enough impact, we wonder, are we doing what we're supposed to be doing in life?
Yeah, all the time.
Right? And anytime we come back to this, like, Mother Nature, not only is it like home and paradise, but there's just so much support. We think we're all alone and we're just facing all of these, hardships in life, which we have. We have great hardships and heartbreaks, but there's also tremendous amount of support. And I think the more that each of us individually and collectively tap into that power, we'll remember how powerful that we are as humans.
That's amazing. Okay, thank you so much, Katie.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to The Flower Lounge. I'm Katie Hess, and we'll be releasing a new podcast every Wednesday. If you like what you heard, or you know someone who might be touched by our conversation, share it with them. And don't forget to subscribe. To find out what your favorite flowers mean about you, take the quiz at LOTUSWEI.com.